Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast here on this lovely Wednesday evening. Getting to this one a bit later in the day. I had a few things on, but luckily we don't get any footy until the Friday this week. Of course, round 19, the last major bye round for Supercoach. No footy till Friday means I can get to this one a bit later, and we'll still have that content out well and truly in time for you guys to make some informed decisions and, get a bit of knowledge under your belt. If you guys can see up on the screen now, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're not, if you're just listening on an audio platform, head over to the YouTube channel at Chip and Chase Podcast on YouTube. You can see the face cam, you can see the team and everything else that we have up on screen. And hopefully it just not only lets you connect with me a little bit better, but you can see everything a little bit more and we can work through this all together with your team. Well, let's get stuck into it right now. Up on the screen, our score for round 19 for Supercoach, 1,160, an absolute stinker, which we'll get into as to why that all sort of happened. But yeah, really disappointing round for us. Just things aren't going right at the moment. That dropped us 3,922 places. So we're down into a season rank of 15,669th now. Really disappointing. We had a little bit of a few green arrows last week, not many at all. But then a massive drop this week is really killer. It's just not where we want to be going. I still have hopes of getting to top 1,000. I think, winning it's well and truly out of the loop for us now. But definitely top 1,000 is the goal. That's where we sort of want to aim every year. If we can get top 5,000, it'll be a success from here, but I can definitely see myself pushing in late. To do that, however, we are going to have to make some mass changes starting from now. So let's get into it, and as to why we have to make those mass changes, you will see right now. So let's read through how the team went in round 18. Jake Simpkin, 46 from him. We're actually pretty happy with that. He's just doing his job, getting us some solid points there. Harry Grant, of course, did not play. Was he laid out last week, or was that laid out this during this round, dealing with that sternum injury, I believe it was. So we didn't get him, and that was Jake Simpkin. Originally, we were looking to loop Nicho Hynes and just cop an AE because, didn't really want to play Jake Simpkin. If I could just throw that C on a injured Harry Grant and cop Hynes' AE, would have been ideal. But I'm sure, as a few of you know by now, that was not the case. Moving into our front rowers, however, Anfanor Blake, 69, getting to a bit better form. This, of course, he played about 64 minutes in this one, a long game. I think it went for almost 90 minutes this game, the Warriors Bulldogs. So he had a bit more time to actually get those points. But regardless of how he got them, 69 points is where we want him to be sitting as a front rower. Jack de Belin, however, only 37. Now, Dragons Roosters was a very interesting game. Jack de Belin had like 4 hit-ups of the ball, which is just crazy. Every other game, he's making 15 runs, he's making 40 tackles, and this one, just not so much. The minutes were still there, just the rest of that base stats, not really. So, bit disappointed in that, especially when we could have played Terrell May, who, of course, we sat this week. He ended up with 73 points of his own. We're a bit worried about whether or not he could actually get the output in this one with the Roosters forwards back in business. But he did more than that, 73 points from him. So disappointing that we didn't get that, but really not the end of the world considering the rest of our week. Viliami Fafita, of course, did not play as our nuff. Moving into the second row position, Dad Fafita only 52, but again, not too worried about that. Everybody owns him, so it's not something I'm really too worried about if he's going low or high. It's just he's a gun. You have him in there. 52 points is still solid. Britton Nikota, 92. Really happy with that one. And Josh Curran, 87. We're really happy with that one as well. He was a late inclusion. We're going to go with Bo Fermor or Finu or Kai Pearce-Paul. And that with Josh Curran just on a whim. And thank God we did, because the 87, I think it might have been the top score of my week this round. Well, I guess Nikota 92 was, but 87 was right up there. And that goes to show how poor my round was. We'll go through the reserve second rowers, none of which we played, but Samuela Finu, 51, happy with that. Bo Fermor, 43, again found himself in the centres, which is why we didn't play him. So that's fine, what can you do really? And Kai Pearce-Paul, 47, again in 80 minutes, but just not getting enough, no attacking stats whatsoever. So none of those players we played, but decent-ish stats there. A bit disappointing, but we work with it. Into our halfbacks. Nicho Hynes, 68, boosted with a late try. He was, I don't know. That game was a really hard watch. Sharkies just weren't giving him any ball. He was hardly involved in attacking opportunities too. It was a really, really odd game. For someone I brought in this week, had the VC on, was so set, on just looping that. 68 points. Really disappointing, but I sat there like, you know what, oh well, it happens. People own him, people captain him. You can just move on. It's not the end of the world. 68 isn't even that bad of a score. He was just saved by some junk time points. But of course, the injury that has just occurred in training, that's the killer. So my 2 trade-ins from last week, which we'll get to the other one in a sec. We'll mention him now. Toltau Kula, the other trade-in, now out with an MCL. So Hynes and Kula both have to get out of my team. Hynes will be making way this week, I believe. Maybe some changes yet to be made, but I'm thinking I trade him this week. While Kula, maybe next week. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, really disappointing stuff. It's stuffing my trades around big time. The fact that I've just used 2 to get him in, and I'm going to have to use another 2 to get him out, 4 in 2 weeks on the same plays as shithouse. But that's Supercoach. I'm not the only one who cops this sort of stuff. I won't complain too much. It's, you can be disappointed at the time and, reminisce and be like, yeah, it's a bit shithouse now, but it can happen to anyone. So you just got to live with that. Sam Walker, our other halfback, 65 points from him. Not bad, but since we brought him in, he hasn't hit the highs that I really sort of wanted him to, but not going too bad at all. Dylan Brown, 53. I thought he played better than he started on a 44, and I was like, geez, I thought Dylan Brown was quite good. 53 in updates wasn't bad. I'm pretty sure there's no attacking stats in that, so it's mainly all just sort of base power. So we'll take that. Lockie Galvin, should have played him, but again, 10 points wasn't the end of the world. But 63 points from Galvin against the Storm. He's very much looking like a keeper for the rest of the season. Whether or not you play him all the time, you definitely can. The fact he's scoring these sort of scores against the best opposition, he can just do it. He's always attacking the footy. He always has it in his hands. I do like a Lockie Galvin play for the rest of the season, so we'll look to use him a little bit more. Into our centre wings, some good scores here, but just not anything extensive. 67 from Dom Young, 73 from Ruben Garrick, 73 from Jesse Ramian, 86 from Greg Marju, who we ended up putting the late captain on, which is good because he ended up being one of the better scores of my week. It could have been a lot worse if I didn't captain Marju. So 86 doubled to 172 if my math serves me correct. We'll take it. But this sort of week was categorized whether or not you owned and if you captained one player, which we'll get to. The rest of our center wings there, Kel Ito, 56 off the bench. Tolotau Kula, 83 off the bench, which was really good. Shame he's injured now. And Ronaldo Mulatalo, 31 off the bench. We reserved all of those players. And not the best from Mulatalo. We'll take Ito's 56 and was quite happy with Kula's 83. But yeah, as we said, the injury sucks. Into our fullbacks, and this is now a troublesome position. It's actually been a bit of a troublesome position for a couple of weeks now. Charles Nickel Klukstad, we were looking to sell last week. We held on. We're like, look, I liked his draw coming out of the bye. If he can just get back to his old base ways against the Bulldogs and just, get 40, 50 points in base, maybe an attacking stat, we can work with that and hold him coming out of the bye. Not the case. He did get an attacking stat. I believe he got a try assist to would have been Dallin Martinez-Lesniak on the right-hand side, I believe. The problem was he then did his calf, I think, just before halftime. He's now out for 4 weeks. He lost 90K for us, and he's lost a lot in the last couple of weeks in general. It's really getting no luck in that position. He's now at a not the best price point as well, so I'm going to have to find a lot of cash to move him onto the better fullbacks, but we will be looking to do that this week as well, so stay tuned for that. 36 points in the end. Could have been a lot worse, but yeah, I wanted a lot better, so what can you do? The other one, Lehigh Hopewado, obviously we didn't play. He was off the bench for the Seagulls, ended up with 8 points himself, which is now stuffed around his break even, sitting at 90. A bit of stroke of luck, which we'll get into right now. Let's go over to our team list. He has been named for round 19, which is really good for us because, numbers and whatnot. He's also named on the right-hand wing for the Seagulls. So maybe some attacking stats we'll have to see. Let's have a quick look at the team list for round 19, starting with the Dolphins and the Rabbitohs. For the Dolphins, Hammer, of course, is out, which means the boy Trey Fuller, he comes back in that fullback position. Jack Bostock, back from concussion, means that Tessie New falls out of the side. Jeremy Marshall-King with a foot injury means Max Plath goes from lock forward to hooker, and then Kenny Bromwich goes to lock, and Tavita Pangai Jr. starts at front row. Also, Felice Corfusi out with origin duty means Josh Kerr and Ray Stone join the bench with Sean O'Sullivan. For the Rabbitohs, though, Jai Gray is the man to come in at fullback for the injured Latrell Mitchell. Sucks for the State of Origin, but what can you do, really? Michael Cheekham is now starting in the second row with Cameron Murray away for Origin. Liam LeBlanc comes right back onto the interchange bench, and Saliva Havili is also in the reserves as he closes in on a return from injury. Into the Sharks and the Tigers. The big one from the Sharks, as we all know, Nicho Hynes out with, I can't remember, it was an ankle injury or something. He's got a broken leg and syndesmosis or something like that. I can't exactly recall. Don't quote me on that, but we're looking at 8 weeks minimum for Nicho. Tough, especially bringing him in. If you own, you have to sell. You don't have to do it this week. You can potentially do it next week for Nathan Cleary. I'm going to do it this week because I'm just going to, I don't know, I might be avoiding Nathan Cleary. I'm going rogue to finish this season. Regardless, he is out. Braden Trindle shifts to halfback. Atkinson comes into number 6, and Sione Katoa returns from on the wing after his concussion. Teague Wilton starts in the back row with CSF Talakai suspended, and Jesse Colquhoun and Braden Hamlin-Nuele join the bench. For the Tigers, Alexander Lobb comes in onto the wing with Solomona Fatape going into the centres and Justin Olam out with a knee injury. Justin Matamua has been dropped, which means, where are we? What happened here? Matamua is out, which means Fanua Pole moves to lock and David Clemmer starts at front row, which is interesting because I thought Fanua Polo was really good at front row last week, but we'll see how much his role actually changes. The big one for people who brought in Ruben Porter is he has been named for round 19, so a little extra number there for you guys. Lucky there. Also, Stafford Toa in amongst the reserves as he looks to return from injury. Into the Titans and the Eels. What is going on here? Jayden Campbell, of course, returns from a hand injury at 5'8". AJ Brimson, still listed at 18th man, was named last week and was a late out. So interesting that he was named last week and now he's not even in the squad. I mean, 18th man probably comes in if he is to come in, I'd assume at centre, but it's just a wait and see what the Titans sort of do there. Josiah Pahulu takes over at prop from Maroon's rep, Mweki Fotuaika. And I don't even know if that's how you say it. I'll just say Mo Fotuaika. Cleese Haas returns from injury in the back row. And Phil Sammy has been named on the interchange after missing last week's game with a calf strain. So that's a really interesting one, is the Philip Sammy on the bench. I'd have to assume he either makes way and Brimson comes onto the bench, or they move this whole... I think there's a lot of changes to be made because Beau Fermor, currently named at centre, obviously he's played a few games there this season filling in. I can't imagine they really want to start him there, whether or not they move him back to second row and Cleese Haas to the bench and Sammy out or Sammy to start, and lots of falling pieces there. We'll have to see. Over to the Eels, though. Dejan Arce takes over at halfback for Mitch Moses. Lorenzo Mulatalo. So this is Ronaldo Mulatalo's twin brother. NRL debut on the wing with Blaise Tavalungi shifting to the centres and Sean Russell dropping out of the squad. Charlie Geimer, the weapon from last week, he starts at lock forward. And Matt Dury comes on into the second row, as does, where are we? Ryan Madison moves from lock forward to second row. So Ryan Madison and Matt Dury, the new second rowers. Sean Lane and Bryce Cartwright off the bench, which is interesting because they've got a really small bench. You've got Matt Arthur, Sean Lane, Luca Moretti, and Bryce Cartwright. So not really out-and-out middles. Obviously, Lane has been playing a bit of middle over the season. Luca Moretti as well, but nothing too expansive there. I'd expect when sort of Cartwright and that come on, it just means you move Ryan Madison to lock forward and use him a bit more through the middle, maybe even Charlie Geimer at front row. Joe Offa-Hengawi also at prop with Junior Paolo out of the side with a foot injury. Then we have the Broncos and the Dragons. For the Broncos, of course, a lot of changes here with a lot of Origin reps out. Tristan Saylor starts at fullback for Reece Walsh. Tyson Smoothie starts at lock forward, which is quite interesting for Patrick Carrigan. Xavier Willison starts at prop for Payne Haas. Tony Staggs returns from his personal leave, partnering Dean Mariner in the centres with Selwyn Cobbo out at Origin as well. Jock Madden out of the side with his hamstring injury, which means Josh Rogers takes over at halfback. Jordan Ricky also returns from suspension in the back row, and Blake Moser is on the bench. None of those are too Supercoach relevant, however. For the Dragons, Ravalawa returns on the wing with Zach Lomax away for Origin. Jesse Marshke comes in at halfback for Ben Hunt, also out with Origin. Faitala Mariner returns after missing last week due to back spasms, which means Luciano Leilua reverts to the bench alongside Toby Couchman, Ben Murdoch-Masila, and Harm Sele. Jack Bird is listed at 18th man after a successful comeback in New South Wales Cup last week. Then finally, the last game of the round, and probably the most interesting game of the round for Supercoach, the Seagulls and the Knights. For the Seagulls, with Tolutau Kula out with his knee injury, Tom Trbojevic, after 1 week in the centres, goes back into fullback, which is, very interesting. I was sort of hoping we'd, get Lehi Hopewade at fullback, keep Trbojevic in the centres, move Garrick out to the wing, but no, let's not be silly. We'll stuff it all around. Tom Trbojevic, let's just put him at centre to get some reps into his legs. 1 game back. He's a fullback again. Anthony Seibold, I don't see him as a coach. I don't see it. I'm really not seeing it. I reckon Daly Cherry-Evans should be captain coach of this side. It's actually a bit crazy. Regardless, Tommy Talau moves to the centres. Lehi Hopewade comes in on the wing. Jamie Humphries making his NRL debut at halfback for Daly Cherry-Evans. Really good. He should have been there last time. Carl Lawton is at second rower. Nathan Brown is he also at back row? No, he's at lock forward with Homole Olakau'atu, of course, who missed Origin, also the other back rower. Beyond that, Ben Trbojevic is also out with a head knock. Corey Waddell, Gordon Chan-Kum-Tong, and Clayton Fualalo. We mentioned him in the preseason if you guys were following from then. Not that he's going to be Supercoach relevant now, but it's good to see him get his NRL debut. Absolute gun. He is also on the bench for his debut. For the Knights, Kalen Ponga going straight back into Origin, as is Bradman Best and Dane Gagai. Which means, and Inari Tuala out with a calf injury. So Fletcher Sharp comes in at fullback. Christian Mapapalangi comes onto the wing. Greg Marju the other one. Dylan Lucas into the centres, as is Thomas Kant, who I believe this is his NRL debut, but don't quote me on that. He might have played before, but regardless, good to see him getting his shot now. He's actually a bit of a highly touted gun in the Newcastle area. For the rest of their side, Adam Elliott returns at lock forward, which pushes Matt Croker back to the bench. But that is all for the team lists. So let's look at trades, shall we? Last time we looked at the best ways to look at trades, and I have forgotten how we do that. Let's find out, shall we? Here it is, that easy. So, the most traded in players of round 19. We're heading into round 19. Number 1, Homole Olakau'atu. We're going to speak a little bit about Olakau'atu now. Lovely trade in. If you are doing it at a 604 price point, it just makes so much sense. He's averaging, what's his average for the season? Average is 70 for the season. He's had some injury affected games as well, I believe. There you go. He had a 13 that brought him down, and he followed that 13 up with 118. So this is the point to get him now for that 13 out of his rolling average. This is the time to get him. 71 break even, but mainly it doesn't really matter about price at this point. It's just having him for this buy round that is really going to be key. I'm getting him this week. If you don't get him, it's not the end of the world. A lot of people look at that 11,000, probably getting it up to about 12,000, 13,000 before the round starts. A lot of people bringing him in. He's not going to be the most pod player, but second row, you just want to sort of lock and load the best ones. I think the best ones, the maybe must-haves to have for the rest of the season or for the run home. You want your David Fifita. You want Angus Crichton, probably about round 20. You want Homole Olakau'atu. Eli Katoa, if you could potentially get him, and maybe a Britton Nikora. I think those are the 5 best second rowers. Who am I sitting with at the moment? So I've got Nikora Fifita, And yeah, none of these other ones really all that enticing. I want Olakau'atu for the run home, and more importantly, he's a number for this week. He could score 100 points, and it'll be really gutting to miss out on that. So yeah, Olakau'atu, love him as a trade-in. The second, Will Price, we'll speak about a little bit later. But yeah, I don't mind him as a trade-in. Jayden Campbell will also be speaking about a little later. Charlie Geimer, the next most. Now, this one's really good. Bottom dollar, 2RF only, which is kind of depressing. I was hoping we were going to get a 2RF front row duel there. Would have been really handy. But bottom dollar, starting lock this week, another player that this is sort of when you look to nuff out players. And the best time to nuff is to get someone who's not even enough. You can get Charlie Geimer at bottom dollar. Jake Tungo in the same mold just below him. These players are bottom dollar, and you can get them for round 19. So you get them to play this week. And they potentially make money, and if you need to move them on later in the season, good. But if not, they're probably going to stay in the side, and you're going to need depth late in the season. These are the sort of players that you're going to want. So Charlie Geimer, I love him this week. I'm really not thin for numbers this week, so I'm not going to do it this week myself, but I will be looking at him next week. He's also not going to have a price rise this week. That'll be next week as well if he's named. But again, if you go early, you're getting a number and you're still getting the cash of downgrading down to him. So I really like the Charlie Geimer pick. As I said, looking at that next week myself. Jake Tungo, very similar sort of mold. The only thing that's keeping me away from Jake Tungo is that I think center wing is just an upside position. As you guys saw with the players that I played in round 18, I played my 4 starting ones, and I had 3 reserves on my center wingers. So I want to be playing all my center wingers. If you're getting in someone like Jake Tungo, it's not really someone you play. It's just to make the money of downgrading. Who knows if he keeps the spot. At the moment, he's in there for Marcus Sevo, who's injured. At the same time, though, they've also just dropped Sean Russell. So maybe when Marcus Sevo comes back, Tungo gets Sean Russell's spot. Things to keep an eye out. Personally, I'm not that keen on it just because I think center wing, you want to be maximizing the best players, but I can see the appeal. Tom Trbojevic, the 6th most traded in. A lot of people will be looking at Tom Trbojevic this week, myself included. Wasn't all that convincing, on his return from injury, of course, playing in the centers. So very different positions. He was roaming a little bit, but not awfully that much. Ended up with 45 points in that time. It's more so the fact that you can get Tom Trbojevic for a buy round, and we know what Tom Trbojevic does and what he can be at his best. I'll be looking at him because I can't get James Tedesco. I'm just going to have to boycott him for the rest of the season. So the fullbacks I want to run with, I'll spoil for the way home. I've wanted him for a while. I want Reece Walsh next week. If he's named to back up from Origin, Reece Walsh is 110% coming into my side. I really like the Broncos run home. I think the Broncos need to do a lot, and they will win games to make the top 8. I love Reece Walsh. As you guys know, if you listen to the other podcasts, I'm massive on him. Own him this season. He's really fun to own. Who I'm partnering him with isn't decided yet. Tom Trbojevic, if I am to bring him in this week, might be the person I run with for the run home. The other thing is, if you've got trades up the hand, you can do a bit of fullback roulette heading into the back end of the season. A lot of great fullback options, and if you can maximize on the best time that they all hit their good runs, the good runs of the draw, that can be very effective. With the amount of trades I'm about to use in the last 2 weeks, I'm not sure I'll have the luxury of doing that. I thought I might coming into it, but yeah, I'm going to have to go hard right now, so we'll have to see. But for that reason, I'm thinking Tom Trbojevic, because even when he's not at his best, he just scores really, really well. Ruben Garrick, next most traded in, which is interesting. I didn't realize that many people traded him out. But yeah, if you don't own him, you definitely can pick him up. I like him. Cody Walker, next most traded in. Halfback 5/8 dual, which is quite handy. Of course, plays this week, so another number. It's just interesting, though. Like, obviously, you might be trading out a Nicho Hynes for this. Fair enough. You free out maybe like 70K at this point. Is it worth it? I'm not sure. Would you not just wait another week for a Nathan Cleary? I don't know. It's really up for debate. I'm not overly keen on Cody Walker. Is rumoured he will have the goal kicking, but are the Rabbitohs really going to put a massive score on the Dolphins? And you have to be able to actually kick the goals over to get those points. So Cody Walker, not for me. Dave Fafita, yeah, people bringing him in makes sense. If you don't already own him, you should have him. And Greg Marju, the 10th most traded in. That's the top 10. We won't go any further from that. The most traded out players this week. Nicho Hynes speaks for itself, as does Latrell Mitchell and Ben Trebojevic and Joseph Manu and Jamin Salmon the most traded out. Regardless, Nicho Hynes, yeah, traded out. Injured, he has to go. You don't have to do it this week. If you want to hold and reassess and maybe get Nathan Cleary next week or the week after, definitely potential in that, and I like that. I'm going to be trading him out this week just because I'm going a bit different, but I'm also a little bit. I need to make a few more runs. If you're in a position like me, Nathan Cleary is still a good option next week, but a lot of people will be flocking to that, so I'm trying to go a little bit different in my approach. So Nicho Hynes, yeah, good sell this week, good sell next week though as well. Latrell Mitchell, out for 4 weeks. There's potential to hold, but I do think at that price point you sell. If you have the trades, the luxury of trades, you can, as I said, do that fullback roulette. If you traded him to a Latrell Mitchell this round, you're making almost 200K and you're still getting, if you're trading him to a Tom Trebojevic this round, you're making almost 200K and you're still getting Tom Trebojevic, which is just a pretty crazy circumstance to be able to do. Like the trade of him. Ben Trebojevic, yep, it sucks. A lot of people, if you've held him this long, you wanted him for this round and he doesn't get it, and that's killer with that concussion. Joseph Manu, next most sold. We're not going to touch too much on anyone else here. Jeremy Marshall-King, all these players are being sold via injury or necessity, like Morgan Smithies and Sam Hughes and David Armstrong, the only 3 players that aren't injured in this most sold list, most traded out list. And fair enough, they all speak for themselves. Charles Nicholl-Klukstad down in 8th. I'll be adding to that, to the numbers of selling him. But let's look at the sort of trades that I'll be making right after we do the best buys, the point of difference players, as you guys can see up on the screen. If you're just listening on audio platform, this is up on the Instagram. So familiarize yourself with this. Head over to the Instagram at Chip and Chase Podcast, and you can see through this, and you can see all the stats that are going to be really important that I'll be sort of brushing over and talking about real here. But yeah, the best buys for round 19, starting with Jayden Campbell. This is why we said we'll touch on him a bit later. So there's all the stats up on screen, and I'm going to read through what I've written on this right-hand side. Last week it was Keanu Keeney. This week it's Jayden Campbell. If you're looking for a player to replace either Nicho Hynes or Latrell Mitchell, who offers round 19 coverage, JC is by far the best pick out there. Since his move to 5'8", Campbell has averaged 107 points with some very impressive outings. He now comes up against an Eels side languishing down the bottom of the ladder, and that reads well for his attacking opportunities. Not only is he a great buy, but he's a great captain option this week as well if you do pull the trigger. This is someone I am very much looking at. I think at the moment I will be bringing in Jayden Campbell. Whether or not that changes or not, we'll have to wait to the end of the season. I've just seen the stuff up in my graphic. The 5'8" thing should be right to the end here. Anyway, I didn't want to point out my own stuff ups, but I'm not going to re-upload the graphic because I'm lazy. But yeah, Jayden Campbell, someone I will be looking at this week. I think I want to bring him in. I love the matchup this week. I genuinely will be VCing him at least. I just need to make movements. If he comes in for 1 week and then, they drop him with this whole trying to fit in Keeney and Campbell and Brimson, if that's the case, at a minus 44 break even, the money he can make, maybe I'll just turn him into a Nathan Cleary next week. Yeah, it's not ideal using 1 trade in, 1 trade out, but it's not the worst case. The best case is I bring him in, he goes good, he stays in the side, he keeps going good for this good run of games. As I said, Eels followed by Manly, who may not back up their origin stars, and they're not great without them. Dolphins, who are a bit, injury prone at the moment. How are they going to go without Jeremy Marshall-King? Broncos and Sharks, yeah, they're tougher matchups later on, but by then he should have a really good price point, and I can sort of move him on, or I can keep him. Titans are playing really well. Titans just beat the Sharks, so they could do it again. We'll have to reassess then, but I'm very keen on Jayden Campbell this week. Let's move into our second player, Will Price. Now, as we said, one of the most traded in, so it's not the most pod, but we'll read through what we've said here. The young Englishman is about to enter his 3rd game in the NRL, meaning now is the time to buy to benefit from his cash generation. It also conveniently lines up with the last major buy round, where players are struggling for numbers. So while his ownership is low at the moment, expect a lot of people to jump on him this week. Regardless of this, he's a solid number for this week. He will make cash, and he's a great downgrade option for even more cash growth. Throw in his dual eligibility, and he's a go. A lot of people looking, as we said, I believe it was the third most traded in this week. A lot of people looking to bring him in. Makes sense on a lot of fronts. You're getting that cash gen. Like, you can downgrade a bloody Ronaldo Mulatalo to if you're selling, your stocks on the Sharks now that Nicho Hynes is out. You can make, what's that, almost 80, 90K, which isn't massive, but it's decent for someone who's going to still play this round. He won't miss next week. I don't believe, no, he doesn't miss next week. He goes up in cash. Like, it makes sense. He's got that fullback duel. If you want to drop someone else to him, you definitely can. I like it, and that's why a lot of other people do. I'm not reinventing the wheel by saying he's a good trading option. As I said, a lot of people will flock to him, which means he might not be that pod, but I think he presents a lot of value in all of those areas that I mentioned, whether it's his cash gen, playing this week, which is a good number. He's putting up good stats in the first two games as well. Base of 34 across his first two games. Quite good. As I said, the downgrade option as well. You can make even more cash there. So there's a lot of good reasons to go for Will Price. I was looking at it myself. I probably won't go for it. But as I said, if I do change my trades from this video, follow me at the Instagram, so at Chip and Chose Podcast. And I'll let you guys know what sort of late changes I make to the team, and we can follow along there. Let's get into our last player, my absolute favorite, Jesse Ramien. My worst kept secret of 2024 finally gets a feature. If you've followed along since the start, I've been massive on Ramien since before the season began, and he has featured in my side since the very beginning. Somehow, he is still flying under the radar though, sitting at only 2% ownership despite averaging 64 for the season. He has a base power of 55 points per game, so his floor is utterly bonkers. And with the Sharks covering round 19 and with a solid draw to close out the year, I expect some attacking stats to bolster him up even more. Join me now on the Rame train. As you guys know, or maybe you don't, Ramien has been a mainstay since the season began. Just one of those players. He's not let me down once. As I said, that 64 average for the season, the 55 base power. Look at that. He's got averaging 3 points per game in scoring and 9 in creating. He's getting fuck all tries and fuck all assists. It's all coming from his base power. His offloads and his evasive stats. So offloads and tackle breaks, line breaks, and it's just normal base, his work rate. He's doing some crazy things. Yeah, I just mentioned selling chips on the Sharks backline with Nicho Hynes out. Potentially, I think Ramien still gets through his work, so he's definitely not going to go down in price, like pretty certain of that. And I still just have to sit here and think, he's scored like 2 tries or 3 tries all year. 2 of them were in like the one game and he scored 115. He has to get some attacking stats. They've got Tigers this week on the bye. Then they've got the bye themselves. I say on the bye. They've got Tigers this week on the major bye round, which is important. By next week, which is tough. It's been tough for me to cover with how many Sharks I have. Then Cowboys, Rabbitohs, Titans, which they're all going decent as of late, but they're not the best competition. He can score points there. Look, I love him. Maybe you guys can jump on him too. If not, he's going to continue to fly under the radar, and I'll be happy to have him at like no ownership. So he's the last of our pod buys for round 18. Let's move into my team specifically and the trades we're going to do. Now, we've thought long and hard about this. This has been a stuff around. I really wanted Kalen Ponga this week. I actually can't believe after one game he's named for Queensland. It would have been ideal to get him this week and have Kalen Ponga and Reece Walsh for the run home, but that's not to be. So, Chansigal Klukstad, he is out. Let's just go through and get rid of the 3 players that we're getting rid of. Nicho Hynes is out. You know what? We'll start with those 2. Dylan Brown will move to halfback, and we will, I believe, be bringing in averaging. Jayden Campbell comes in at, they've put him in at fullback, which is a pain. Let's sub him to 5'8". Then we have 883K. I could wait. I don't need to get Tom Trbojevic this week. Before we do the trades, actually, let's just look at these numbers. So playing in round 19, we're sitting here with Simpkin 1, DeBellin 2, 3 with Fafita, 4 with Nikora, 5 with Fainu, 6 with Fermor, 7 with Pierce Paul, 8 with Brown, 9 with Galvin, 10 with Garrick, 11 with Marju, 12 with Ramien, 13 with Ido, 14 with Ronaldo Mulatalo, and 15 with Lehigh Hopewate. Before trades, I have 15 players playing this round. So I don't need to bring in like a Tom Trbojevic or in this case, Jayden Campbell. I want to bring in Jayden Campbell 100% because I love his cash gen. Also, I need to get rid of Nicho this week or next week. The problem is that I am not overly keen. Oh, do I need to do it this week? Hang on. If I just did, how much money do I have in the bank? If I just did Nickel Klukstad to Jayden Campbell this week with a 3-round average, he should be right at the top. There he is. There's one trade. Jayden Campbell's coming into the side. Next week, I could potentially I can just move Hynes straight to Cleary. I could also do that this week if I wanted to. Let's just go by averaging. Where is Cleary? Jesus, Cleary's only averaged 62 for the season. Oh, he's only played 5 games this season. Jesus Christ. So what has he done? Let me look at these scores. He went 36, 73, 121, 51, 31. That's right, with all this hamstring injury crap. He's still at 800K with 181 break even. Bugger that. I'm not bringing in Cleary, at least not straight away. So Jayden Campbell, you can go in at 5'8". Nicho Hynes will be going. Let's have a quick look and a quick talk about fullbacks this season. So let's sort by average. Players averaging over 70 in the fullback position. Dylan Edwards, James Tedesco, Latrell Mitchell, Scott Drinkwater, Jayden Campbell, Tom Trbojevic, Kalen Ponga, Keanu Keaney, Reece Walsh, Ruben Garrick as well. And just below that, you're still sitting there with Pappenhausen's also averaging above 70. And then there's Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, Nickel Klukstad, Tamari Martin with the availability. Lots of really good options that you can do at fullback. Now, James Tedesco, he's the pick of the bunch. He's the best. Doesn't play this week. Doesn't really matter. I couldn't get him last week. I needed him. I'm really sick of this season. I'm not sick of this season. My biggest regret of this season is the whole Tedesco being brought into Origin debacle because I never wanted to own Joey Manu. And then I did because James Tedesco got caught into Origin and I switched out. Then Manu did fuck all for me and then he got injured and I've missed out on Tedesco who's now 960k. And that, it's tough, but that's Origin. That's Origin. That's footy, that's Supercoach, shit like that happens. The just most gutting thing is that I knew Tedesco was in for a massive season. I started the season with him. He absolutely killed it. How did he go? I sold him when he got a head knock, and I think I went to Reece Walsh or Chance. I went to Chance, and then Chance did well. But he started the season with 70, 103, 135, 47, and then a 4, I believe I copped. No, I did cop the 4. So I sold him after round, so he'd miss round 6, sold him there. Came back and he's gone really well since, still hundreds and 88s and 79, 151, 98, 84, 116, 149. It's gutting, but it's just this, what happens? He's way too expensive. He's the best player in Supercoach, so I'm not going to tell most of you to not buy him because of his price. I think potentially to win this season, you need a James Tedesco, but I'm going to have to go against the grain simply because of his price. What makes me sick is my girlfriend sits here with Dylan Edwards and James Tedesco as her fullbacks. Obviously, they both don't play this week, but fuck me. Imagine owning James Tedesco and Dylan Edwards. I'm sitting with Lehigh Hopewada and Nickel Klukstad. It's absolutely killer. But are there any wrong answers? No. You can go any of these fullbacks to finish the season. I definitely want Reece Walsh. I could bring him in this week and just roll with it, but he's not going to give me an extra number. He could get injured, and I hate bringing a player unless they're playing this week, because what happens if he gets injured in Origin? I just wasted a trade, So Tom Trbojevic makes the most sense. I could go Kalen Ponga, but again, misses this week. What happens if he gets injured in Origin? I could go Keanu Keaney with what he's doing. Obviously, we wanted to do him last week, and then we chickened out. Where are we going? I think the most sense for me is Tom Trbojevic. Now, what is Manly's draw to finish the season? Newcastle this week on the bye round. I love that. He'll be doing everything with everyone else out. Then Titans, they're in a bit of a form, like good run of form, but it's still the Titans, respectfully. Then Raiders, Roosters. Look, I like it. I think I'm going to go Tom Trbojevic and just believe in Manly. Why can't I afford that? Oh, because I'm trying to bring in Reece Walsh too. There we go. So those are 2 trades to start. We have we've traded Nicho Hynes and Nickel Klukstad for Jayden Campbell and Tom Trbojevic. Again, 2 more players that play this week. I don't need the numbers, but I'm going hard. I may as well win this round and get a bit of cash in my pocket, eh? The last trade we want to do, we have options. I do want Homole Olakau'atu. So I can trade Tolotau Cooler to him via the very handy duel of Bo Fermor. How much money will I have left? Let's just go via average. I'll have 1,200 left. I'm not sure if I will do this one. The problem is if I do this, I need Reece Walsh next week. How am I going to do that? Well, I need to free up a lot of money. A lot of money. I need to get Lehigh Hopawate to him. He's going to lose cash this week unless a miracle occurs and he scores more than 90 this week. So how do I get to Reece Walsh? Let's say I need to free up 400k. I probably, after saying I won't sell Terrell May, I probably will nuff him out to Charlie Geimer next week and make the cash there. But then again, I'm left with 0 in the bank. So I'm not going to do the... What was I saying? I'm not going to do the Tolotau Cooler trade. Where was Cooler? He scored 83. He should be near the top. I'm not going to do the Cooler trade. I'm actually going to let him sit in the team. With the amount of numbers I have at the moment, I'm going to trade Kai Pearce-Paul. It actually only makes 40k more. What else can I do to stuff around with this? Was Bo Fermor's break even? Not that high. Kai Pearce-Paul's 83, but he could get attacking stats. Where else can I go? I could trade Terrell May right now. Let's just complete that trade real quick. I'm pretty certain I'm wanting Olakau'atu. So if I did like Terrell May now and we moved Samuela Fainu up, and we bring in, where is he? Olakau'atu. We have 226k. I can then do the Kai Pearce-Paul nuff to... Who am I on about? Charlie Geimer next week and make the rest of the K. Or I can just do the Kai Pearce-Paul trade now and maybe Terrell May next week. Either way, I suppose it makes sense to do Terrell May now because if I'm... At least Kai Pearce-Paul gives me another number to go good in round... Nah, bugger it. Bugger it. I'm trading Kai Pearce-Paul. I don't need the numbers. So Kai Pearce-Paul will be my third trade in this week. The other thing is I just couldn't trade, but... As I've said, I really want Haumole Olakau'atu. I want him for the run home. We'll go bang there, keep 45k in the bank. It's not massive, but it's enough. Now, who do we need? After 3 trades this week, we sit on 9. Definitely using 2 next week. Probably a Terrell May nuff to Charlie Geimer and Lehigh Hopawate to Reece Walsh. Then who do we need for the run home with 7 trades remaining? I need Angus Crichton. And I think that's it. But Angus Crichton will probably cost me 2 trades. Again, how would I do that? The thing about Terrell May, I know last week I said I can keep him. I think he's going to have a really good end to the season, which I just genuinely wholeheartedly believe. But with the coverage I have at front row between Jack DeBellin, Josh Curran, Samuela Fainu, who can all cover front row as well via my duels, I just don't think I need him. I think he scores better than all 3 of those players. But he's also got 150k more value than all of those players. And is he going to score 150k more value than them for the run home? I'm not sure. So I'll probably sell Terrell May next week. If you still have Terrell May, I still think he's a hold. I genuinely think he'll be like the best front rower to finish the season. I think they start giving, they turned to him last year in the big moments for the big games. I think they start resting some of their players like Lindsay Collins and stuff for the back end. Like, think of round 27. Are they going to be playing Lindsay Collins and Angus Crichton and whatnot, or are they going to rest them? I'd say they rest them. Are they going to rest Terrell May? I don't think so. So, especially, hang on. Jared Warrior-Hargraves just got suspended, didn't he? Now we're in a pickle because now I want to keep him. So how do I make the money? Look, that's just going to have to be next week's thing, or we don't do the Tom Trbojevic trade this week. Do I need the Tom Trbojevic? But then who do I get for fullback for the run home? It's not going to be a James Tedesco. Look, I think I'm setting on these 3 trades. I still have a boost, so next week if I have to do 3 trades to get my Reece Walsh, I can, because Terrell May could be insane for this run home now that Warrior-Hargraves is out. He's at a really weird price point though. I don't know. We'll have to reassess. But for now, these are the trades I'm looking at. So that is Nicho Hynes, Chance Nickel Klukster, and Kai Pearce-Paul for Homole Olakawatu, Jayden Campbell, and Tom Trbojevic. The players I need for the run home, Angus Crichton and Reece Walsh. And I have 9 trades to do that. Do I need Nathan Cleary for the run home? Maybe. And maybe I can straight swap. Maybe I can do something else. If I can sit with like 5 or 6 trades to finish this season for injury, I should be fine. The good thing about my team is I have really good depth. Obviously hooker, not fantastic, especially with Harry Grant's injury. But if I have to play Jake Simpkin and he gets me 46s, I can live with that. Front row is covered because I have the duels. So Adam Fanua-Blake and Terrell May at the moment as 2 just starting front rowers. But then I have a Jack DeBellin, Samuela Fainu, Josh Curran, 3 more that can cover that. And of course, all of them can cover my back row. I can't afford another nuff. I'm currently only sitting with Viliami Fifita. Maybe next week I do a Tolutau Kula. And I know I just said I'm not too big on Jake Tungo, but if I need to find money, maybe it is a Tolutau Kula to Jake Tungo. At least I get money and it's a playing player. Right now, Tolutau Kula is not doing anything for me. But yeah, a really good depth in across the squad. I think I can get by if injuries occur with who I've got. Every single position will be covered. I'll have 7 playing center wings, potentially. Even if I go Jake Tungo, at least he's going to be playing. Tom Trbojevic and Reece Walsh for the run home, both playing. Campbell and Galvin in the 5/8, both playing. Brown and Walker at halfback, maybe Nathan Cleary. I think I'll be well and truly covered. So trades are looking quite grim, but I'm going to hope that my team can just pull it in for the back end of the season. And that's where we're sitting from that. Let's get ahead of this whole trade talk. Let's look at Sit v starts heading into this week. Of course, the major buy round, so it's pretty easy for me. Samuela Fainu, he will come up into front row and partner Jack DeBellin. So we have 2 playing front rowers. Jack Simpkin plays at hooker. My second rowers are David Fifita, Britton Nikota, and Homole Olakawatu. My halfback is Dylan Brown. My 5/8s are Lockie Galvin and Jayden Campbell. My centre wings are Jesse Ramian, Ruben Garrick, Cal Ido, Greg Marju, and Ronaldo Mulatalo as well. So now let's look at and fullback is Tom Trbojevic. So the Sitvi starts, this is how crazy the depth of the squad is for round 19. We have Lehigh Hopawate, Ronaldo Mulatalo, Lachlan Galvin, and Bo Fermor. There you go. It speaks for itself. All of my reserves go to those 4 players. Of course, round 19 and a major buy round means that you only get your top 13 scores. So my 4 worst out of these 17 will drop out, which is really good for me. I think I should go insane this week. I'm in top 100 of the week. But then again, it can all just come down to a captain. So we'll have to see how we go. Let's get into those captains right now, shall we? Let's look across these games. Dolphins, South Sydney. Are you captaining anyone in that game or vice-captaining anyone? There's options. You could put a vice-captain on a Jermaine Asako, maybe a Cody Walker if you own, but there's not too much there that I'm looking at. Sharkies, Tigers with Nicho Hynes out. That sort of ruins most options there. I'm actually going to be putting a VC on Jesse Ramian in this game. I'm very keen on how he's going to go. I wholeheartedly believe he can kill it. Titans, do you have any other options at Sharks, Tigers? Not really. Titans, Eels, this is where my captain will sit. Oh, actually, or do we? No, we're going to have to captain Tom Trbojevic this week in the final game. So my vice captain will sit on Jayden Campbell against the Eels. And I still believe in Ramian, but I'll just hope he goes well and we don't have to worry about a captain for that. But there, Titans, Eels, Jayden Campbell. I love the VC on here. Any Eels players, there's not really much options that you would. I'm not captaining a Dylan Brown, and there's no one else out there, really. Then we have Broncos, Dragons. Not many options here. All of the best Broncos players play Origin, so you're not going to captain anyone else, and there's no Dragons players that you either own or you captain. Zach Lomax obviously isn't playing. And finally, Manly and the Knights. This is where Tom Trbojevic comes into play. For the Knights, would you captain anyone? You could captain a Greg Marju. You know he's got good base, and if he scores a couple tries, he goes well, as I know from last week. But I'm going to stick with the Tom Trbojevic. So my VC is on Jayden Campbell for round 19, and my captain is Tom Trbojevic. What is the last thing that we do? No, that's it. That's captains and Sitvi starts. So that wraps up the podcast. As I said, any changes, I will let you guys know on the Instagram. So make sure you're following the Instagram at Chip and Chase Podcast. A lot more content going on there. We just got some content out a couple of days ago with Random Stats Guy, the great Random Stats Guy. So go and give that a look if you haven't already seen. But that will wrap us up. So thank you guys for tuning into this one, and I'll see you guys next time.